All right, let's get into this story of a legend's return. After years away from the microphone, the undeniable king of late-night paranormal radio felt this pull that he just couldn't ignore. A pull back to a world that, in many ways, he'd created himself. So picture this, it's 2013. It's been a while since Art Bell's last show, but that iconic voice of late night, well, he had an itch he just couldn't scratch. He had a great word for it. He called it jonesing. A real, undeniable craving to just dive back into that paranormal world he loves so much.
But you can understand, this was way more than just another comeback. This was like a pioneer returning to the lands he first discovered. It was the return of the man who basically dragged this entire genre from the absolute fringes right into the center of our pop culture. And when we say he created a world, that is not an exaggeration at all. Seriously, to really get why his return was such a big deal, you have to understand the massive change he sparked in the whole media landscape.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. When Art Bell first got on the air, the stuff he talked about, UFOs, ghosts, conspiracies, it was way out there. For most people, this wasn't serious radio. It was kind of a joke. This slide just lays it out perfectly, doesn't it? Bull himself talked about this incredible shift. What used to be dismissed as just wild, crazy stuff, something to laugh at, had somehow become a core part of mainstream entertainment. The fringe had literally moved right into the middle of everything. And I mean, just look around today. UFOs, ghost hunting, life after death. You can't turn on the TV without seeing a dozen shows about this stuff. He was even having deep discussions about global warming on his show years and years before it was a daily headline. And look, Art Bell wasn't blind to this. He knew exactly what was happening. He recognized that he was stepping back into a field that was way more crowded, sure, but also way more legitimized. A world he really had a massive hand in building. So what on earth could possibly lure a guy famous for being a serial retiree back to the mic? Well, the answer wasn't on traditional AM or FM radio. Nope. It was the promise of a completely new frontier, satellite radio. He'd already said no to offers from two huge broadcast networks. But the pitch he got from SiriusXM, well, it was different. Because they offered him the one thing he wanted more than anything else: total, absolute freedom. Can you believe this? His instructions from the network were basically, have fun. That's it. Coming from the super rigid corporate world of broadcast radio, can you imagine how incredible that must have sounded? And let's be clear, this freedom wasn't just some vague buzzword they threw around. It literally changed all the rules for how he could actually do his show. I mean, this comparison says everything you need to know. On one side, you have broadcast radio, a cage, right? Strict clocks, breaks time to the second. But then you look at SiriusXM, no clocks, no set show length, and this is the real kicker. They told him not to even worry about ratings, just pure, unfiltered freedom to explore. He gave this perfect example of what that freedom meant in practice. Say a caller gets on the line and says, "Hey, I found a hole that might literally go down to Hades." In the old world, you'd have to cut to a commercial. But Art's philosophy? No way. You stop everything and you follow that story. You go down that rabbit hole and see where it leads. See, all of this complete freedom, it just allowed him to be purely and unapologetically himself. It let him be Art Bell, a host whose entire identity was built on this incredibly unique and curious way of looking at the world. Now, of course, it wasn't all praise. Through the years, he got plenty of heat from critics who just saw his work as trivial or, juvenile. But Art's comeback to that was just brilliant. He'd push back and say, wait a minute, we're talking about life after death. These are the biggest, most profound questions of our entire existence. Since when is that childish? And, he's got a point. And you know what? He never, ever ran from being called different. In fact, he completely embraced it. He coined this perfect phrase for himself that just captured his whole essence. He was rightly weird. And that right there, that gets to the absolute heart of his philosophy. His show was never about knowing the answers. It was never about being right. It was about celebrating the wonder of the questions themselves and the pure, simple joy of just exploring the possibilities. So, with everything in place, the comeback was official. And the name they picked for the new show? Oh, it was just perfect for his brand of exploring the great unseen mysteries of the universe. dark matter. He even framed the whole thing not as just a radio show, but as an adventure. He was giving a direct invitation to his listeners, you know? He was telling everyone, hey, we're not just tuning in, we are going on a wild ride together.
So, naturally, with all this buildup for such a huge return, the one big question on everyone's mind was obvious. What incredible, strange topic was he going to choose to kick the whole thing off with?
And his answer was the most Art Bell thing ever. He said, I have no idea. He didn't want to have a plan. He wanted to jump in blind and discover the topic live on the air, right along with his audience. And with that, he left everyone with the one thing he always delivered better than anyone else: a powerful, irresistible reason to tune in and wonder.